So, God created logic, right? That's what a lot of Christians say. That God is the source of reason, the standard of truth, the foundation of everything that makes sense. Without God, they claim, logic wouldn't even exist. Okay, let's take that seriously for a second. Let's say God really did create logic. Then you'd think every argument for God would be airtight, right? Flawless, clean, consistent. But the weird thing is, they're not. When you actually look at the most popular arguments for God, they end up breaking the very logic they claim to stand on. Let's go through them, one by one. First up, the cosmological argument. You've probably heard it. Everything that begins to exist has a cause. The universe began to exist. Therefore, God caused it. Sounds neat. But here's the problem. It's special pleading. You say everything needs a cause, but then carve out a magic exception for God. That's not logic. That's favoritism. Next, the teleological argument. Basically, the universe is complex, so it must have been designed. But complexity doesn't equal design. Snowflakes are complex. Crystals are complex. No one thinks they were handcrafted by a sky wizard. You're comparing the universe to a watch and hoping no one notices the difference. Then we've got the ontological argument. This one's wild. It goes, God is the greatest being imaginable. Existing is better than not existing, so God must exist. Nice mental trick. But it's just circular logic. You're baking the answer into the definition. Try that with unicorns. Doesn't work there either. Now, the moral argument. Objective morality exists, therefore, God exists. Except that's a false dilemma. Morality can come from empathy, evolution, or social stability. And if morality just means whatever God says, then it's not objective. It's just obedience dressed up in a fancy robe. Here's the transcendental argument. Logic exists, so God must exist to explain it. But that's not how logic works. Logic isn't some magical power source. It's a system, a tool, like a ruler. It helps us describe how things behave. It doesn't need a divine manufacturer. It just needs to be consistent. Let's talk miracles. A miracle broke natural law, so it must be God. No, that's just an argument from ignorance. We don't know what happened, so God? That's not a solution. That's just giving up with a holy stamp on it. Now the resurrection argument. Jesus died and came back, so Christianity is true. That's textbook circular reasoning. You're using the Bible to prove the Bible, and saying the disciples wouldn't die for a lie? People die for lies all the time. That's not evidence. That's marketing. What about religious experience? I felt God. I saw God. So God is real. Okay, but people feel all kinds of things. UFOs, ghosts, Bigfoot. Feeling something isn't the same as proving it. Personal experience isn't logic, it's emotion. You can't win an argument with vibes. Then there's the argument from beauty. Sunsets are beautiful. Music is beautiful. Mountains are beautiful. Therefore God. Nope. Beauty is subjective. And nature isn't all sunsets and violins. Tapeworms exist. Volcanoes kill people. If beauty proves God, what do the ugly parts prove? And finally, Pascal's wager. Believe in God just in case. If you're wrong, no harm. If you're right, you win big. That's not logic. That's fear-based gambling. And which God are you betting on? There are thousands. Pick the wrong one and you're still toast. Great wager, huh? So let's step back. You say God created logic. That logic leads to truth. But every argument you use bends logic, breaks logic, or skips it entirely. You say logic needs God, but logic never seems to lead you to him. Maybe that's because logic didn't come from God at all. Maybe it's just human. A tool we built to make sense of a messy, complicated world. And maybe that's why every road to God eventually detours around reason. Not because it's the logic that fails, but because the argument does. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and see you next time.